My name is Hannah Hazelbaker. I lived in Reno, Nevada for about 18 years before coming to Cal Poly. Nevada is sort of like the weird, younger sibling of California, but it has a moderate amount of religious diversity, particularly within Christianity. I haven't had much of an influence from anything other than Christianity, unless you count that one time I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender and then got really into chakras and meditation. But I think there's enough diversity within Christianity for me to get a decent grade on this project, so let's get started. My parents are both Christian. My mom was Episcopal and my father was Methodist. However, my dad thought of hiking mountains as analogous to Sunday service. My mom was from Texas, so you can bet we were rolling up to church every Sunday. In Reno, there's about as many churches as there are in SLO. There's this one street in Reno that reminds me of Foothill Boulevard, with a bunch of churches across from each other. There's a Jewish and a Buddhist temple, 2 Lutheran churches, a Church of Science, and a Greek Orthodox, which sold baklava in the summertime. My family started out at an Episcopal church, but eventually moved to a Baptist one. Honestly, we went there namely because lots of our friends did, but also it was supposed to be just as conservative as the Episcopalian church. However, after being there for a few years, my 2 sisters and I realized we didn't agree with the church's views on topics like Islam, abortion, and the roles of women and men. So my family found another church. The new church, called Grace, had everything a personal relationship church could dream of, but little did I know this brand of church had its start in California. Even though I ended up disagreeing with the Baptist church as I got older, it was where I realized that Christianity was for me. And since the church emphasized converting friends and people you know to Christianity, I've always noticed how different churches go about spreading the gospel. Converting is generally a good plan, but it doesn't always work out, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Since coming to SLO, I've learned of a method some people like to call seducing you for Jesus. No, not flirty fishing. This could also be called prayer, care, share, which is just taking the time to get to know someone and then sharing your faith. It's quite sneaky, but sneaky for a good purpose. But the sneakiest Christian conversion tactic in California would have to be the emerging church. People will gather at coffee shops, the kinds with cool phrases on the walls and lots of Edison light bulbs. And you're just there, drinking your coffee, downing maybe 3 or 4 shots of espresso per day, just minding your own business. And then suddenly there's a Bible in your hand, and now you're leading a youth group on the weekends. This brings Christianity to a whole new level and diversifies it from traditional, more conservative denominations like Episcopalian and Baptist. In fact, this emerging church shares a lot of similarities with Grace Church back in Reno. But the coolest thing about these emerging churches is how accepting they are of other religions. That's right, faiths support other faiths here. That was not the case at some of my churches I went to back at home. California's greatest strength lies in its culture of tolerance. Here in SLO, I've met an array of religious people. Folks are willing to be open about who they are and what they believe, and other people are okay with that. I've met Muslims, Hindus, Jews, agnostics, and not to mention other Christians. This culture allows for others to not only work together with people of different faiths, but also for individuals to explore other religions in a safe and supportive environment. So you can be walking along in California and think, this empty coffee mug represents me. I don't have a soul. I might be Buddhist. And you can know that there are people and spaces here to support you in your journey. Essentially, the root of my story has been witnessing the growing amount of tolerance fueled by not just Californians, but by Christians' pursuit of acceptance and love. And sometimes the path there is a little sneaky, but the intent is good. And hopefully this pluralism we get to live in lets us realize that at the end of the day, all religions are just looking for a little bit of peace and a little bit of love.